The spaceport on Jareth 9 was alive with noise, color, and motion. Ships of every shape and size landed and lifted off, their engines humming a symphony of interstellar commerce. Alien merchants shouted over the crowd, offering strange goods from distant worlds. Humans were rare here, and the few that arrived often drew curious stares. Aaron, a young human diplomat, stepped off his shuttle with a careful gait. He carried only a small satchel and a determined look. His eyes scanned the bustling crowd, noting the diversity of species around him. Some had translucent skin that shimmered in the light. Others had multiple limbs or eyes that rotated independently. It was a dizzying sight, but Aaron remained calm. Diplomacy required calm. He adjusted the strap of his satchel and walked toward the customs gates. As he moved, he tried to anticipate what might happen. Okay, he thought to himself. They will probably stare. Some will judge, and I should avoid thinking anything too blunt. Just be polite, Aaron. Polite and careful. Unbeknownst to him, someone was already watching. Lyra, a young alien girl, floated gracefully through the crowd. Her species, the Varelians, were known for their telepathic abilities. Every Varelian had the power to sense the thoughts of others, but they had strict rules about when it was acceptable to use it. Reading someone's mind without permission was usually considered a serious violation. Lyra, however, had a natural curiosity and a streak of mischief that made her sometimes bend those rules. When she saw Aaron, she felt a spark of interest. There was something different about him. She hovered silently behind a vendor's stall, her translucent skin catching the light and focused. Instantly, she could see fragments of his thoughts. Aaron was running through mental notes about the species he might meet, thinking about the potential awkwardness of first contact. Some of his thoughts were cautious, but others were surprisingly candid. He wondered whether the aliens found humans amusing. He noted internally that some of them looked like they had never smiled in their lives. Lyra's lips curved into a smirk. This human was not only honest in his thoughts, but also daringly amusing. Instead of anger or offense, she felt a spark of intrigue. Most beings who were exposed to telepathy reacted with fear or anger. Not this human. Aaron stepped into the main terminal, unaware that his inner thoughts were no longer private. He paused to look at the enormous holographic map of the spaceport, trying to decide which way to go. Just follow the main corridor, he muttered to himself. Avoid the customs rush and don't trip over anyone's tail. Lyra floated closer, silently observing. She could feel the rhythm of his thoughts, like ripples in water. He was cautious, yes, but also confident. That was unusual. Most species here were either arrogant or timid in their minds. Humans, it seemed, were a strange mix of both. Aaron finally approached the reception desk, where a tall, six-limbed alien with scales that reflected the ceiling lights looked at him with suspicion. Purpose of your visit? The alien asked in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. Diplomatic negotiations, Aaron replied, keeping his tone steady. His mind, however, was racing. Hope I don't say something wrong. These customs aliens can be strict. Stay calm, Aaron. Smile when appropriate. Don't show panic. Lyra chuckled silently to herself. Humans really did think in layers. Actions, words, and thoughts all carefully separated. And yet, it was their honesty that made them unpredictable. She found it fascinating. The customs officer scanned Aaron's identification and gestured him through. Aaron gave a small bow, relieved, and continued toward the docking lounge. Once he was out of immediate view, Lyra followed. Not too close, just enough to watch him move naturally. She enjoyed observing humans. Their behavior was strange, but also refreshingly simple compared to the complicated, overly cautious thought patterns of most alien species. Aaron finally reached the lounge, a large space with panoramic windows overlooking the landing bays. He took a seat near the glass and began reviewing his notes for the upcoming negotiation. His mind wandered, and that's when he began thinking something he wouldn't dare say out loud. These aliens are going to find me amusing, or annoying. Hopefully amusing. Lyra, floating a few meters behind him, read the thought and couldn't hide her smirk this time. Amusing? She thought. Yes, and bold. Humans are daring even in their private thoughts. Interesting. Aaron's hand tapped nervously. On the table. Why am I so nervous? He thought. I've prepared. I've trained. Humans can handle this. Just don't mess it up. Lyra tilted her head. Humans didn't usually overthink so much, or at least they didn't show it outwardly. Most species would hide their thoughts, carefully crafting mental shields. But humans? Their thoughts were raw, honest, and in her experience, often entertaining. As the minutes passed, Lyra decided to reveal herself, but not fully. She drifted closer and sat across from him, her presence light and almost ethereal. Aaron looked up, startled. Hello? Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the docking bays. Hello, human, she said softly. I can see your thoughts. Aaron froze. His mind raced. Oh no. She read my thoughts. She saw the private ones. This is bad. No, wait. Maybe it's not. Don't panic, Aaron. Be polite. You can read minds, he asked cautiously. Lyra nodded. Yes, most species would be angry if I did that, but I am not. Your thoughts, they are entertaining. Aaron blinked. Entertaining? He didn't know whether to laugh or feel embarrassed. I wasn't trying to be entertaining. Lyra tilted her head, a smirk playing on her lips. No, you weren't. But honesty is rare, human. Most beings hide their minds behind walls. You don't. And that is fascinating. Aaron swallowed. His heart was pounding, but curiosity won over fear. So, you're not mad? No, Lyra said calmly. I'm intrigued. I have never met anyone who thinks like you. Most species are careful, cautious. You are bold in your mind, and honest. And yes, amusing. Aaron let out a nervous laugh. Well, that's flattering, I guess? Lyra's smirk widened. It is, and it is also rare. Tell me, human, why are you so open in your thoughts? Aaron hesitated. Should I tell her the truth? He wondered. Or play it safe? I don't know, he finally said. I guess I just think out loud in my head. Makes it easier to prepare. I didn't think anyone would actually notice. Lyra's eyes glimmered. I noticed, and I like it. Most species would try to hide everything. Humans, you surprise me. And in a good way. Aaron felt a mix of relief and unease. This was unprecedented. A telepathic alien, intrigued rather than offended. Could this be an advantage? Perhaps. Or maybe a risk. Lyra floated a little closer, her curiosity evident. If you wish, human, I can watch your thoughts. But not to judge, to learn, to understand. Do you allow it? Aaron blinked. He hesitated. Can I trust her? He thought. But maybe understanding her could help with the negotiations. Maybe humans can turn this into a strength. Okay, he said finally. I guess I trust you. For now. Lyra's smirk turned into a small smile. Good. That is wise. For the rest of the afternoon, Aaron prepared for his diplomatic meetings, while Lyra observed silently. She didn't interfere. She didn't comment. But she read, learned, and occasionally allowed a smirk or chuckle to escape, which made Aaron glance up nervously. Though he didn't know it yet, this simple interaction would shape the way humans and Varelians, two very different species, understood each other. Aaron's openness, his honesty, and his uniquely human way of thinking had caught the attention of one of the galaxy's most disciplined telepaths, and Lyra's curiosity hinted at a bond neither of them fully understood yet. In that crowded, chaotic spaceport, a small human and a young telepath had begun a silent dance of thoughts, one that would test diplomacy, trust, and the unpredictable power of a human mind. The spaceport's crowd seemed endless, a constant tide of aliens moving in every direction. Aaron weaved carefully through the throngs, his mind alert and constantly scanning. Each species had its own customs, its own body language, and its own ways of negotiating. A single mistake could ruin a mission. But so far, Aaron had managed to move with confidence, even under the weight of being an outsider. Lyra followed at a distance, invisible to the ordinary senses of the humans around her. She enjoyed this quiet observation. Aaron's thoughts were like a river, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, but always honest. It fascinated her. Other species usually tried to hide, to protect their minds with layers of shields. Humans, she realized, were fearless in ways that didn't involve strength or speed. They were fearless in thought. Aaron entered a small cafe tucked into a quiet corner of the spaceport. The place smelled of roasted grains and a strange, spicy, alien brew. He found a table near the window and sat, opening his satchel to pull out his notes. The cafe was surprisingly empty. Except for a few aliens sipping drinks, their attention focused elsewhere. He began reviewing the agenda for the diplomatic talks. There were multiple factions involved, each with their own demands. Aaron's strategy relied on patience, observation, and subtle persuasion. He scribbled notes in his universal translator pad, thinking through possible questions and answers. Unnoticed by him, Lyra floated over and seated herself across the small table. She was careful not to startle him, her presence almost ethereal. Aaron looked up suddenly, startled. "Oh, I didn't see you there," he said, trying to sound casual. "I can see much more than that, human," Lyra said softly, smirking. "I can see your thoughts." Aaron froze. His mind raced. Oh no. She read them. Every single thought. That private part where I wondered if they find humans annoying. Oh no, oh no. His fingers drummed nervously on the table. But instead of showing anger or alarm, Lyra's face reflected amusement. "Don't panic. I am not angry." Aaron blinked. "Not angry?" He struggled to keep his voice steady. I thought you'd be, I don't know, upset?" Lyra tilted her head. "Most would be. Most species would not tolerate exposure of their thoughts. But you are different. Your thoughts are honest. They are amusing. I did not expect that. Humans are unpredictable." Aaron's chest tightened, but relief seeped in alongside his anxiety. "Amusing?" he asked cautiously. "I wasn't trying to be amusing." "Ah," Lyra said with a soft laugh. "You don't even realize it, do you? That is part of what makes it so fascinating. Most species think about how they appear, how to control impressions. Humans, you think freely. You do not hide, and that honesty is rare." Aaron let out a nervous laugh. "Well, I guess that's flattering, but also terrifying." Lyra's smirk widened. "Terrifying? Perhaps for you, for me, it is a curiosity. I have never met someone whose mind I could read and find it entertaining, without offense. You are an exception." Aaron leaned back in his chair, trying to process her words. "An exception? That sounds important. But why?" Lyra floated a little closer, her eyes fixed on him. "Do you know why I am not angry?" she asked. "Because your mind, it is not cruel. You do not think in layers of deception. You do not hide your intentions behind lies. Even when you are nervous, your honesty shines through. That is extraordinary. Aaron's face flushed slightly. I never thought of it that way. I just think in my head. Helps me prepare. And yet, Lyra said, that small habit sets you apart. Other species would never allow a mind like mine to see their thoughts. Humans, you do it naturally, and you survive. She paused, then added softly, and you intrigue me. Aaron's heartbeat quickened. He had always considered humans clever, but hearing it from an alien telepath made him realize he was not just clever, he was unusual. Or maybe all humans are like this, he wondered. So, you're not going to use this against me? Lyra shook her head. No, I am curious, yes. Observant, yes. But I am not cruel. You interest me, and I wish to understand. Aaron hesitated, then decided to trust her. After all, this was a chance to learn about a species he would be negotiating with. Okay, he said finally. I trust you. For now. Lyra smiled, her expression softening. Good. That is wise. The cafe fell into a comfortable quiet. Aaron returned to his notes, though now he was aware that Lyra could read every thought. He tried not to overthink it, but his curiosity began to grow. Why is she fascinated by me? What does she see in my thoughts that others don't? Lyra, meanwhile, observed his mental patterns with delight. Humans were so different, so honest, so bold, and yet so adaptable. It was clear to her that they could survive situations that would overwhelm other species. Their minds were flexible, able to think, in unpredictable ways. And Aaron, he was a perfect example. After a while, Lyra spoke again. Human, tell me, do you know why I followed you here? Aaron looked up, surprised. I thought you were just curious. Curiosity, she said softly. Yes, but also because I sense potential. Most humans would panic if they realized a telepath was reading their thoughts. But you adapt. You consider, you learn, you survive. That is rare. That is valuable. Aaron's eyes widened slightly. Valuable to you? Lyra nodded. Perhaps. Or perhaps to the galaxy. Humans, you are an unpredictable force. And that is remarkable. Aaron's chest swelled with pride, though he tried to hide it. So humans really are special, even to telepaths. The two continued their quiet conversation, words sparse because words were not needed. Lyra could read the ebb and flow of Aaron's thoughts. He could sense her interest and subtle guidance without even realizing it. It was an unspoken bond, fragile but growing. Eventually, Aaron closed his notes and looked at her. So, what now? He asked. Do we just sit here and think? Lyra smirked. In a way, but also, we watch, observe, learn. You will meet others soon, many others. Your honesty, your ability to adapt, it will be tested. Aaron nodded. I'll try to stay ready. You will need more than try, Lyra said, her tone playful. You will need instinct. You will need courage. You will need yourself, humans. You have qualities that even the most advanced species cannot predict. Aaron smiled nervously. I'll do my best. Lyra's eyes glimmered. I know you will, and I will watch. Not to control, not to judge, but to understand. Perhaps even to help in small ways. For the rest of the afternoon, the two of them stayed in the cafe, an odd pair of observer and observed. Aaron prepared meticulously for the upcoming negotiations, while Lyra silently explored the landscape of his mind, fascinated by its honesty, its creativity, and its raw human courage. By the time the sun, or what passed for a sun in this part, of the galaxy, began to dip below the horizon, Aaron felt a strange sense of connection. He didn't fully understand Lyra, and she didn't fully reveal herself to him, yet a silent trust was forming. Humans and Varelians, so different, yet both capable of thought, strategy, and curiosity, had found an unusual common ground. And somewhere deep in the folds of her thoughts, Lyra decided that this human, so raw, honest, and bold, was not just entertaining. He might be extraordinary. The spaceport buzzed on around them, unaware of the quiet dance of thoughts happening in its midst. A human and a telepath, minds exposed and intertwined, were beginning a story that would test courage, intelligence, and the unpredictable power of honesty. Aaron glanced at Lyra, a nervous but determined grin on his face. "Well, I guess tomorrow is the real test, huh?" Lyra smirked, her eyes sparkling. "Yes, human. The galaxy will not expect what comes next." The following morning, the spaceport was alive with activity. Ships lifted off and landed with mechanical precision, while merchants shouted across corridors, selling wares from hundreds of different worlds. Aaron adjusted the strap of his satchel and took a deep breath. Today was the real test. He would enter the diplomatic chamber to negotiate trade agreements among several alien factions, each with its own interests, agendas, and hidden motives. Lyra floated silently behind him, invisible to human eyes. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. She had watched Aaron for hours the previous day and had decided that this human, this simple, honest human, was exceptional. Most species would panic under such pressure, hiding behind lies and mental shields. Humans, they were unpredictable, and unpredictability was often a power no one could measure. Aaron entered the chamber, a vast room suspended high above the landing bays. Holographic screens displayed economic data, supply contracts, and trade routes. Representatives from the Trelvans, Zork, and Renari factions were already present. They eyed him cautiously, noting that humans were rare here and not particularly respected. Aaron felt a flicker of nerves. Okay, stay calm. Observe first. Listen. React. Don't let them see panic. He shifted his notes and took a seat at the human section of the table. Lyra floated close enough to sense his thoughts, but without interfering openly. She watched his mind ripple with calculations, possibilities, and subtle strategies. Humans approached negotiation differently than most species. They combined observation with instinct, honesty, and adaptability. Lyra had never seen anything like it. The first speaker, a tall Trelvan with eyes like molten gold, addressed the chamber. "The humans are here. Why should we trust their proposals? Their species is small, inexperienced, and naive." Aaron leaned forward slightly. His mind raced. Small? Maybe. Inexperienced? Possibly. But naive? Not if I can help it. Focus, Aaron. Show them we can offer solutions. Lyra felt every flicker of his thought, and instead of judging, she was impressed. Most humans would have panicked, perhaps stumbled in their mental preparation. Aaron, however, thought fast, adjusting his mental strategy to counter the arrogance of the alien factions. He spoke calmly. "We are aware of the concerns. Humans may be small in number, but we are careful in trade. We observe, we plan, and we adapt. Our goal is mutual benefit, not dominance. Let us discuss specifics rather than assumptions." The Trelvan's many arms twitched. "Bold words for a human. Can you prove it?" Aaron's thoughts shifted quickly. "Prove it. All right. Think through every option." He calculated supply chains, possible barter advantages, and risk factors. His mind ran through countless scenarios in seconds. Lyra, reading his thoughts, began subtly influencing the environment. Not in a way anyone could notice, but by guiding Aaron's intuition toward the most effective phrasing, the most persuasive. Body language, the key points that would resonate with the alien delegates. Consider the trade routes through Rhinari space, Aaron said confidently. Human ships can transport high-value goods without delay. In return, we propose an equitable exchange of resources that benefits all parties. Let us focus on practical results rather than reputation or assumptions. The Zork delegate snorted. Practical results? Ha! Humans speak boldly, but their species has no experience with real galactic politics. How can we rely on such claims? Aaron's mind raced. Experience? We may not have decades of interstellar diplomacy, but we have creativity. We have observation, and we have courage. He smiled slightly, letting confidence seep into his tone. Experience is valuable, he said, but so is adaptability. Sometimes fresh perspectives solve old problems that tradition cannot. Humans think differently. We may be new, but our approach can provide solutions you might not have considered. The room fell silent for a moment. The delegates were not used to a human speaking with such honesty and subtle confidence. They had expected nervousness, hesitation, or deception. Instead, they saw clarity, calm, and intellect. Lyra floated closer, a faint smirk on her lips. Aaron's mind was sharp, precise, and unexpectedly fearless. His thoughts were alive with strategy, yet not clouded by pride or arrogance. He was human, yes, but extraordinary. The Trelvan delegate leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And if your solutions fail, what guarantee do we have? Aaron's thoughts flickered. Guarantee? We don't have one. But we can build trust. We can adapt faster than most species expect. He spoke clearly. Guarantee comes from partnership, not threats. We propose a trial exchange. Observe results, evaluate effectiveness. If we fail, adjustments will be made. That is how humans operate. Honestly, openly, and with accountability, the delegates murmured among themselves. Lyra noticed the shift. Humans' openness and willingness to admit limitations, while also offering solutions, was something alien cultures rarely respected or expected. It disarmed them. The negotiations continued, each faction testing Aaron with questions, subtle challenges, and hidden traps. Every time he paused briefly, thought through the options, and responded honestly and strategically. Lyra guided his intuition in imperceptible ways, nudging his attention to overlooked details, pointing out subtle cues in body language, suggesting phrasing that would resonate. By midday, the humans' approach was working. The factions skeptical. At first, we're beginning to acknowledge that Aaron's proposals were sound, practical, and, most importantly, honest. During a short break, Aaron leaned back and sighed. This is harder than I expected, he muttered. His thoughts were full of worry, but also determination. They will respect logic and honesty, but I need to watch for hidden tricks. Every word counts. Lyra hovered nearby, sensing his calculations and mental tension. She smiled faintly. You are performing admirably, human. Most species would crumble under this scrutiny, yet you think clearly and act decisively. It is impressive. Aaron blinked. Impressive? To you? Lyra's smirk widened. Yes, I told you humans are unpredictable, but not recklessly. You are clever, observant, and resilient. That is why you survive where others fail. Aaron felt a strange mix of pride and disbelief. Most species would call him naive or reckless. But Lyra, the telepath who had read his thoughts, was impressed. Well, thank you, he said quietly. I guess honesty and preparation can go a long way. Lyra nodded. And human creativity. Do not underestimate it. You see solutions where others see barriers. That is a human trait, one that I admire. The negotiations resumed, more intense now. Aaron faced a sudden challenge. The Zork delegate proposed a last-minute change in the trade agreement that could disrupt the balance of the deal. Most diplomats would panic. Most species would argue, threaten, or retreat. Aaron's mind worked. Quickly, adapt, adjust, find a solution that satisfies them but keeps the agreement intact. He considered every possibility, calculating the consequences, then responded calmly. "We can accommodate your request in part, while maintaining key principles that ensure fairness for all factions. Here is how." He explained the compromise, detailing a step-by-step method that would satisfy the Zork without undermining the agreement. The delegates listened, their initial skepticism slowly fading. Lyra's eyes sparkled. "See, this is human brilliance, not arrogance, pure problem-solving under pressure." By the end of the day, Aaron had negotiated the agreement successfully. The factions left the chamber impressed, surprised that a single human could hold his ground, propose effective solutions, and maintain calm under intense scrutiny. Lyra floated near Aaron as he collected his notes. "You did exceptionally well, human," she said softly. "Not only did you navigate their challenges, but you also gained respect without forcing it." "That is rare." Aaron exhaled, exhausted but elated. I didn't expect it to go this smoothly. I just tried to stay honest and adapt when needed." Lyra tilted her head. "Exactly. That is the key. Humans' honesty, adaptability, and creativity are remarkable. You have proven what I suspected yesterday. Your mind is special." Aaron looked at her, curiosity sparkling in his eyes. "Special? To you or to the galaxy?" Lyra's smirk returned. "Both, perhaps. To the galaxy, humans are unpredictable. But to me, humans are extraordinary. And you, Aaron, are an excellent example of what your species can do." For the first time in his life, Aaron felt a deep sense of pride in being human. He realized that what made him and his species different, the honesty, the courage, the creativity, was exactly what made them formidable in a universe where rigid rules and strict hierarchies dominated. Lyra floated slightly closer, her eyes reflecting the warm light of the chamber. "There will be more challenges," she said, "more tests, more scrutiny. But you have proven that humans can not only survive but excel, and that makes you a fascinating study." Aaron smiled, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "I'll be ready," he said quietly. "Humans always try to be ready." Lyra's smirk softened into a genuine smile. "And that, human, is why I will continue to watch. Not because you need me, but because humans are different. And difference in the galaxy is power." As the sun, or what passed for a sun in this system, began to dip below the horizon, Aaron and Lyra left the chamber together. He felt a strange bond forming with the telepathic alien, one built not on fear or power, but on mutual respect and fascination. For the first time, Aaron understood that being human, honest, creative, bold, and adaptive, was not a weakness in a galaxy of complex, secretive. The spaceport had quieted after the busy day of negotiations. Ships still moved in the distance, their lights twinkling like distant stars. The air smelled of machinery, fuel, and exotic spices from countless worlds. Aaron walked alongside Lyra, toward a secluded observation deck that overlooked the sprawling landing bays. Here, away from the noise and prying eyes, they could finally speak freely. Aaron glanced at Lyra, his curiosity mixing with a cautious trust. "I still don't understand," he said, "how you can read thoughts without getting tired, and why you don't use it to manipulate everyone." Lyra floated gracefully beside him, her translucent skin catching the ambient light. "Most species think to hide or to deceive. Their thoughts are filled with caution, fear, and self-interest. That makes them predictable in some ways, but also tedious. Humans, you are different. Your thoughts are honest. You adapt. You surprise. That makes observing you fascinating. Aaron frowned slightly. So, I'm like a science experiment? Lyra chuckled softly. Not an experiment. An anomaly. Humans are anomalies in a galaxy of rigid rules and careful thought. And you, Aaron, are one of the most intriguing anomalies I have seen. Aaron felt a mix of embarrassment and pride. Anomaly. Intriguing sounds like praise from her. He tried to hide his smile. Well, I suppose that makes me special then. But why me? There are other humans. Why focus on me? Lyra paused, her gaze steady. Because you are willing to trust me. Most humans would panic if they realized a telepath could read their mind. Most would block, hide, or react with fear. You are honest, adaptive, and brave in ways that go beyond courage. That is rare. That is why I focus on you. Aaron walked slowly, processing her words. So my honesty isn't a weakness, it's a strength. I've always thought thinking freely was normal, he said quietly. I never realized it could be valuable in ways I didn't expect. Lyra's eyes sparkled. It is. Your mind, open, honest, adaptive, is something that even advanced species cannot fully predict. That makes humans remarkable, and it makes you extraordinary. They reached the observation deck, a wide platform with glass walls overlooking the landing bays below. Ships of every type moved like insects below them, lights flickering in patterns only a practiced observer could interpret. Aaron leaned against the glass, his hands gripping the railing lightly. Lyra floated closer. Do you understand now why humans are different? Why I said yesterday that your species is extraordinary? Aaron nodded slowly. I think I'm starting to. But it's still strange. We're small, not very experienced, and not as powerful as most species in this sector. Yet, somehow we managed to surprise others. Lyra's smirk returned. Exactly. You are underestimated because of size or experience. But humans adapt. You think creatively. You take risks when others are paralyzed by caution. And your honesty, it inspires trust. That combination is unusual and effective. Aaron looked down at the landing bays, watching a small transport ship maneuver between larger vessels. I never realized it could be so important. My honesty, my thoughts, the way I handle things, it can actually influence others. Even a telepathic alien like you notices it. Lyra tilted her head. It is not only me. The galaxy watches humans with curiosity. Some admire your courage. Some fear your unpredictability. Most cannot understand your minds at all. And yet, here you are, influencing events simply by thinking clearly and acting honestly. Aaron laughed softly, shaking his head. I feel like I'm making it sound too simple. It's not really easy, you know. Every day is a test, a chance to fail, a chance to make mistakes that matter. Lyra's expression softened. Mistakes are part of growth, but humans, you learn fast. You adapt. You do not give up easily. That is what makes you resilient. That is what makes you strong. Aaron's thoughts flickered. Resilient. Strong. Maybe I never realized humans could be like this. Maybe I never realized how much potential we have. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the ships below. Then Lyra spoke again, her voice almost playful. Tell me, Aaron, do you ever wonder how I can read your thoughts without you noticing? Aaron smiled wryly. I do. I keep expecting that one day you'll read something private and get upset. Or maybe judge me. Lyra's smirk grew. Humans worry too much about judgment. Most species hide their thoughts because they fear it. But your mind, it is different. Even your mistakes, even your fears, are honest. That honesty makes you resilient, and it makes observing you enjoyable. Aaron chuckled nervously. Enjoyable? You really are unlike anyone I've ever met. And you are unlike anyone I have ever met, Lyra replied softly. Most beings I encounter think in patterns, predictable patterns. Humans, you break the patterns, you surprise. And that is why I watch, why I learn, and why I trust you, in a way most species cannot understand. Aaron felt a warmth in his chest. Trust? From a telepath? That's incredible. He shifted slightly, unsure how to respond. I trust you too, he said finally, even though I know you can see everything. I think because you've never judged me harshly. You just observe and sometimes guide. Lyra's eyes softened. Yes, I guide when it is needed, subtly. Humans are clever. You notice patterns. You adapt. And yet, you still have instincts that even I cannot predict. That is fascinating. Aaron laughed softly. I guess humans are full of surprises. Lyra's gaze was steady. Indeed, and not just small surprises, large ones, moments where humans step forward when others hesitate. That is courage. That is power. That is why your species survives in ways others do not. Aaron's mind wandered, thinking about the negotiations from the previous day. I never thought of it like that. Maybe all along, our differences, our honesty, our adaptability, our creativity were advantages, even when others doubted us. Lyra floated closer, observing the subtle movements of his mind. Do you feel it, Aaron? The bond we are forming? Not just of trust, but of understanding? Humans and Viralians, so different, yet capable of connecting on this level. That is rare. Aaron nodded slowly. I do. It's strange, but comforting. I never imagined that I could form a connection like this with someone so different from me. And yet, I feel like I understand you, and you understand me. Lyra smiled softly. Yes, and that understanding is important. It allows us to work together, to navigate challenges, to survive, and even to thrive. Humans' honesty, creativity, and courage are assets, and you, Aaron, are learning how to use them. Aaron's chest swelled with pride. He realized that being human, honest, adaptive, bold, wasn't a weakness. It was a strength. And with Lyra by his side, someone who understood and appreciated that strength, he felt capable of facing whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at him. They remained on the observation deck as the stars appeared above the spaceport, flickering like tiny beacons in the dark. Aaron and Lyra shared a quiet understanding, a silent bond that needed no words. In that moment, the galaxy seemed smaller, more manageable, and filled with possibilities. Lyra finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. Tomorrow, you will face another challenge, Aaron. A test not of negotiation, but of instinct and strategy. And I will be watching, not to control, not to judge, but to learn, and to ensure that you see the potential within yourself. Aaron smiled, determination shining in his eyes. I'll be ready. Humans don't give up easily. Lyra's smirk returned, faint but confident. No, you do not. And that is why humans, your species, are extraordinary. Your honesty, your adaptability, your courage, they cannot be measured, predicted, or easily defeated. That is power. That is human strength. As the two of them left the observation deck, the spaceport lights twinkling around them, Aaron realized something profound. Being human, thinking freely, acting honestly, and trusting in one's abilities, was more than survival. It was influence. It was strength. And in a galaxy filled with rigid rules and hidden motives, it was a secret weapon. Lyra glanced at him one last time before they parted ways for the evening. Her eyes were full of admiration and curiosity. Rest well, Aaron. Tomorrow the galaxy will see what humans are capable of. Aaron nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. I'll be ready. And maybe I'll surprise them again. Lyra's smirk lingered as she watched him leave. Humans were strange, bold, unpredictable, and she couldn't wait to see what he would do next. The next morning, the spaceport felt different. A tension hummed in the air, subtle but unmistakable. Aaron stepped out of his quarters, adjusting his satchel. Today was not about negotiations or preparation. Today, he would face an unexpected challenge. Lyra floated silently beside him, her translucent skin shimmering in the morning light. "Do you sense it?" she asked softly. Aaron frowned, scanning the bustling port. "Sense what?" "A disruption. Something unusual. Not immediately. Dangerous, but unpredictable," Lyra replied. Her eyes glimmered with curiosity and a hint of caution. "You will need your mind and your instincts today, Aaron." Aaron's thoughts raced. Disruption? Unpredictable? That's vague. But I guess I can handle it. Humans are good at adapting. He took a deep breath, centering himself. Then let's see what it is. They moved toward the docking bays, where a cluster of ships had gathered. Alien crew members shouted orders in hurried tones, some arguing over docking priorities, others scanning the sky with concern. A large, unfamiliar craft hovered near the central hub, its sleek metallic body glinting ominously. Lyra floated closer, reading the thoughts of the gathered aliens. That ship. It is not registered in the port database. And its crew. They are not here for trade. Aaron's eyes narrowed. Not here for trade? Then why are they here? Lyra tilted her head. To test the humans, perhaps, or to exploit weaknesses in their allies. Either way, you are involved now, and your reaction will matter. Aaron's mind shifted into problem-solving mode. Okay. Assess the threat, find the options, and act. Don't panic. Humans adapt. Humans survive. The ship's hatch opened, revealing a group of heavily armed aliens, their armor dark and imposing. They moved with precision, scanning the spaceport for weaknesses. Panic began to ripple through the other aliens present. Most species froze or hid. Aaron, however, remained calm. Lyra's eyes sparkled. This is where humans excel. Others panic. Humans think, adapt, and act. She floated closer, subtly guiding his intuition toward the best tactical approach. Aaron stepped forward. "Stop right there," he called, his voice steady and firm. His mind raced, calculating every angle, every possible response. If I act carefully, I can prevent chaos. And maybe turn this situation to our advantage. The alien leader stepped forward, its multi-jointed limbs flexing. You humans are small, weak. Step aside or face consequences. Aaron smiled faintly, a spark of confidence in his eyes. I don't think so. You underestimate humans, and that is your first mistake. Lyra hovered behind him, sensing the calculations flowing through his mind. Aaron was already planning how to redirect the intruders without direct confrontation. Most species would react with fear or aggression. Humans, they used creativity, observation, and instinct. Aaron noticed a control panel nearby, connected to the bay's security systems. If I can trigger the locks and traps, I can slow them down, and maybe force them to retreat. He moved quickly, tapping commands into the panel, his mind coordinating action and observation simultaneously. The intruders hesitated as automated gates closed and defense drones activated, moving between them and the port personnel. Panic and confusion spread among the attackers. Lyra's thoughts flickered with admiration. See? Humans think fast, act strategically, adapt under pressure. The leader barked orders, trying to regain control. "Do not let a human delay us!" Aaron's mind raced. Delay is not enough. We need them gone. Use logic. Use distraction. Use unpredictability. He grabbed a nearby signaling device and activated it, sending false signals to confuse the intruder's sensors. They began turning in circles, scanning for threats that weren't there. Lyra smirked. Yes, humans create chaos for advantage, but not recklessly. Clever, precise, extraordinary. Aaron moved through the confusion, helping stranded aliens avoid panic. His calm presence encouraged them to think clearly. Most species would have fled or frozen in fear. Humans, however, combined leadership with adaptability. He used hand signals, shouted instructions, and anticipated problems before they occurred. The intruders, frustrated and disoriented, began retreating toward their ship. Aaron's mind calculated the optimal time to lock the docking clamps, preventing escape. He pressed the final command, and the alien craft was immobilized. Lyra floated close, reading the intruders' minds. They are confused, uncertain. They underestimated humans, and that will cost them. Aaron's heart pounded, but he kept control. Stay calm. Finish this. Protect everyone. Humans survive. The intruders made one last attempt to approach, but the automated defenses and strategic barriers prevented them from moving forward. Finally, the alien leader raised its hands, signaling surrender. We did not anticipate this. Humans. Clever. We retreat. Aaron exhaled deeply, lowering his arms. The intruders retreated, leaving the spaceport in uneasy silence. Other aliens began murmuring among themselves, astonished by how a single human had managed the crisis with skill, strategy, and calm. Lyra floated closer, her eyes reflecting admiration and surprise. "Remarkable," she said softly. "You have done what most species could not even attempt. Humans are extraordinary. And you, Aaron, you exemplify it." Aaron shook his head slightly, still catching his breath. "I just did what I thought was right. I adapted. I stayed calm. That's all." Lyra smiled, her expression softening. "That is enough. Your courage, adaptability, and honesty, they saved many today. And they impressed even me who can see thoughts." Aaron glanced at her, a mix of exhaustion and pride in his eyes. "So, humans really are different, huh? We don't just survive. We find a way to win, even when odds are against us." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Exactly. Humans are underestimated because they are unpredictable, adaptable, and creative. And in situations like this, those qualities are invaluable." The spaceport gradually returned to normal. Repairs would be made, and discussions about the incident would echo through the various factions. But Aaron felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Humans' unique traits, honesty, adaptability, courage, and creativity, had made a real difference. Today, Lyra floated beside him as they moved toward the observation deck once again. "Tell me, Aaron, do you understand now why I am fascinated by humans?" Aaron smiled, exhaustion melting into confidence. "I think I do. We may be small, we may be new to interstellar politics, but we adapt, we survive, and we think differently. That makes us unpredictable. That makes us strong." Lyra nodded, her smirk turning into a genuine smile. "Unpredictable, yes. Strong, yes, and remarkable. Your mind, your instincts, your courage, they cannot be measured by conventional standards. That is why humans are extraordinary." Aaron. looked out over the bustling spaceport, ships moving like tiny stars in motion. "I guess this is only the beginning," he said quietly. "Humans have so much potential, and maybe the galaxy doesn't even know it yet." Lyra's eyes glimmered with approval. "No, the galaxy does not yet know, but it will, and humans, you, Aaron, are showing them. Every action, every choice, every thought, it demonstrates what humans are capable of." They remained on the observation deck for a while, watching the fading sun and the lights of the spaceport below. In silence, a bond had formed, one of trust, respect, and mutual fascination. Lyra understood humans in a way few could, and Aaron realized that honesty, adaptability, and courage were not just survival tools, they were strengths that could change the course of events in the galaxy. As night fell, Lyra floated closer and said softly, "Tomorrow, you will face new challenges, and I will be there, observing and guiding subtly. Humans' strength lies not only in action, but in thought. Remember that, Aaron." Aaron nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "I will. Humans adapt, humans survive, and humans succeed. That's who we are." Lyra's smirk returned, faint but confident. "Yes, that is who you are. That is what makes humans extraordinary." And somewhere deep in her mind, she made a quiet promise. She would continue to watch this human, learn from him, and see just how far humans could go. Because Aaron's mind, honest, creative, adaptive, and courageous, was only the beginning of the galaxy's awakening to human potential. The spaceport lights twinkled below them, ships lifting and landing like tiny stars, and the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The humans, so often underestimated, had just begun to reveal their true power. Aaron looked at Lyra, his heart steady, his mind alert, and said quietly, "Let's show them what humans can really do." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Yes, let them see,"